Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to Tekpon. Today our guest is Rajesh, the founder and CEO at Netcore Cloud. Hello.
Hi, Christian. Nice to be with you.
Super excited to have you on the podcast. Firstly, please tell us what is Netcore.
So Netcore is a B2B SaaS proficorn, and I'll explain proficorn because that's a new word for everyone.
Yeah.
We're basically a B2B SaaS company in the CPaaS and MarTech space. So I'll explain that also. CPaaS is communications platform as a service, and MarTech is marketing automation. So the problem that we solve for brands, large B2C brands, is around helping them with retention, engagement of their customers, and personalization of the messages that they send out to their customers to generate higher revenue and sales.
And you strictly help B2C companies?
Absolutely. Only B2C companies.
Mm-hmm. What are the main products that you offer?
So our primary products are around email. So
Okay.
we are, if you see, people have probably heard of SendGrid, SparkPost, Pathwire/Mailgun. We are like that. So we are now one of the largest independent email providers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
All the others have got acquired by CPaaS companies. We are the one standing alone. So we do about 20 billion emails a month. So pretty
Okay.
large scale. And then we have a full stack marketing automation platform. So that helps companies with journeys, creating the journeys, helping with personalization, customer engagement, RFM segmentation, and so on. And a year ago, we acquired a company, Unboxed,
Mm-hmm.
for about $100 million.
Okay.
And Unboxed solves the problem of site search, on-site search for e-commerce companies. So site search, helping create show the right items when people are browsing. They also have recommendations, so that all of this basically leads to more revenues, greater profits for companies.
I
And
understand.
yeah, just one additional point is Netcore is a $100 million revenue company. And I just want to explain proficorn.
Sure.
So
Please go ahead.
we are private, we are bootstrapped, we are profitable, and we are, like I said, highly valuable. So in a world where everyone else raises a lot of capital and many of them lose money, we've bootstrapped the business over the last 25 years, and profitable growth is one of our hallmarks.
Wow, that's incredible. And what percent of SaaS companies would you say are proficorns? 0.01?
Yeah, if I were to probably less than probably 10% companies, I think, at this point of time.
Yeah.
But I think it's changing very rapidly because everyone's now under great pressure from their investors to be profitable quickly.
And do you think this will be the trend in the future, or when we hit good times, we'll go back to growth at all costs and no profit?
No, Christian, I think this is a secular trend. This is a sustainable trend. And I think it's a better way to build businesses because
Absolutely.
Once you focus on profitability combined with growth, you then tend not to waste money. The decisions are better, and it's a longer sustaining company. And more importantly, for founders, they have more control on the company rather than being left with a small percentage and taking investments round after round.
Exactly. What would you say are the most loved features of your product?
I think in our product, the part that brands really love is the fact that we can do omni-channel personalization. So customers today, like all of us, we interact with B2C brands. We are omni-channel. We're interacting on SMS, WhatsApp, email, push notifications, on the website, on the app. So what brands want is a seamless customer experience across all of these platforms. So we collect all the data from everywhere, but then the experience of showing the same recommended products across channels is important, and the right recommendation. So it's the right message, right time, right channel also, because many times we don't want to get the same message on 4 different channels that we are interacting with. So I think omni-channel personalization becomes very important for brands.
And what are the most common industries that you see with your customers?
The most common ones basically are all the large, of course, B2C industries. But the most common ones we have seen are BFSI, so banking, financial services, and insurance.
Okay.
And the second one is, of course, e-commerce. So I would include there not just the D2C, B2C companies, but also things like travel, etc. They all fall under the larger category of B2C, of e-commerce rather.
Okay. And I love to hear your favorite customer success story and how you help them.
So I'll share some recent stories which are there
Okay.
because we've got a very exciting product that we are coming up with. It's an extension inside email. So it's built on a Google technology called AMP, AMP in email. I think, and we are one of the pioneers now in applying this to a lot of use cases inside brands. So typically, email has always been these posters that you see, images that come in, and you have to click through and go to a landing page on a website. And there's a lot of friction out there. A lot of people drop out because you don't want to click. The what you see changes dramatically.
Yeah.
And what we've been doing in the last 4-5 months, and we've taken it out to about 100 plus Indian customers, is the ability to do a lot of the actions right inside the mail itself. So no redirects, no click-throughs, no landing pages. You can fill the forms inside email.
Wow.
So brands can do progressive profiling. You can schedule appointments inside email. So one of our large customers in India, Asian Paints, they have to have contractors visit people's homes for doing a look and giving a quotation, and they have to do scheduling of appointments. Now all of this can be done right inside the mail, and they saw a 400% increase in the appointments that are being scheduled because of the friction that's removed. The next big leap for us, of course, which we are working on, is doing full e-commerce right inside the mail. So right from search, browse of items, cart management, and payments. That's the next horizon for us. Complete the entire process. It's what I call inbox commerce, or manifested through an email shop. Okay, and that's the next big thing we are working on. So I think we are going to see tremendous breakthroughs and hopefully very happy customers, because we'll reduce the waste that they have in acquiring new customers rather than getting more from their existing customers.
I see that you are super excited for the future, so I'm happy for you.
Absolutely.
What are the most common integrations that you see used with Netcore?
So one advantage of Netcore is that we have a full stack that we do.
Okay.
So we support the multiple channels, plus we have the full marketing automation stack. So typical integrations, and we have support for Zapier, which lets us do integrations with many other platforms. One of them is, of course, with a full CDP. We have what we call a quasi marketing CDP, basically. So that is an important one because we can then get the other behavioral data, maybe demographics data of customers, which can help with integrations. We also support integrations with Google and Facebook. So if customers are not reacting to some of the messages which are being sent on the brand's own channels, they can then do retargeting much more easily through our platform that's there.
That's awesome. And what is the pricing for Netcore?
So the pricing varies. For SMS and email, we charge based on consumables.
Mm-hmm.
So based on number of emails sent, number of SMSs sent. And for the marketing automation platform, we charge based on monthly active users. So how many hundreds of thousands or millions of users. But what's interesting, Christian, is I'm thinking, and this is sort of early ideas right now, that what brands really want is they want to grow their profits. Okay, so they can do that in two ways. They grow their revenues and they cut the waste in marketing.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that in the next sort of avatar of what we are doing in Netcore, we should be charging based on the difference that we make for customers. So then we become basically cost of goods sold. And that's the best place to be, because then we have unlimited budgets. It's what the ad tech industry did very well. The MarTech industry is not doing that well, and therefore MarTech is a very small percentage of the overall spend that brands are doing. And I think if we can help brands make more from their existing customers, and then just tell them that, look, we are like a POS, a point of sale terminal. We'll just take maybe 1% or 2% of the sales that you do. And that will help grow MarTech budgets. It will help delight brands. So that's something we are thinking about at this point of time. That's the future of MarTech.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and it's totally fair because you only get charged, paid when you help them. So yeah,
Absolutely.
how competitive is the marketing automation space? How crowded
Oh,
is it?
it's very competitive, as in most spaces. Um, so we have global customers, we have customers, regional customer, global competitors, regional competitors, some very good ones.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, we have the big marketing clouds also. So at one level, we have companies like Adobe, Salesforce, Oracle. They all have marketing clouds. And then if you look at the Forrester or the Gartner reports, there are 10, 15, 20 competitors which are out there. If you go to a trade show, you'll see 50, 60 companies talking about retention, personalization. And like I tell my team, we must find the blue ocean in the red ocean.
Okay.
And I believe the blue ocean will be the ability to help brands transform their P&Ls. So grow profits rather than just pitching retention and engagement and personalization to them. So that's how we can transform this and move beyond competition because of the advantages that we have with the full stack and the omni-channel support that we do.
Thank you for the transparency. You build that in years, and the benefits of it we'll see, yeah, in the future.
Yes.
Yeah. I was curious now to to find out the story of Netcore. Why you started it, when you started it, the whole story. Yeah.
So I'm based in Mumbai, India, and
Hmm.
my first business was set up in '95. It was
Wow.
I set up India's first internet portals, right? Early days, just around
Your
the
first
time.
business was before I was born, so.
First successful business. I had a few
Okay.
businesses before that, but I don't talk much about them because I failed.
Okay. Please continue.
I've been an entrepreneur for 31 years. Um, India World was my first business. We built portals for Indians globally. It was a B2C business. I got a very good exit. I sold that business for $115 million. So we were less than $1 million in revenue. We sold it. I sold at the peak of the dot-com time,
Yeah.
and I think in 1 month my valuation went up probably 9 times because of
Wow.
competitive bids that were coming in.
Wow.
So I started Netcore just after that. So Netcore is 25 years old, but the first 10 years we didn't grow much. I was trying to do all sorts of experiments and new product ideas. And the current avatar of Netcore sort of the growth started in 2007-8 when I professionalized the management. I got a CEO and we focused on B2B. We did our
Mm.
email, SMS businesses, then we added marketing automation and then multiple acquisitions to expand the portfolio that we did. So that's the
Fair.
sort of backstory of Netcore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how big is your team right now?
So Netcore and Unbox together are 1,000 people.
Wow.
Um, so it's a largish team
Mm-hmm.
based pretty much across the world, India, emerging markets like Southeast Asia, Middle East, Africa, and of course the US and Europe.
And for the first 10 years that you weren't profitable, how big was your team then?
We were about 25, 30 people.
And you
So we
kept it
were
at
not
that
unprofitable,
size.
but it was break even business because we had a
Mm.
legacy business.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to see where the big breakthrough will come from. So I created products, but I was not able to sell them. And then I got a CEO to help sell what we were building.
And you retired, or you just managed it from behind? What was the
No,
strategy?
Netcore always, so the last 15 years, we've had a professional CEO. So the
Mm-hmm.
current CEO is Kalpit Jain. He's the third CEO that we've had in the last 15 years.
Okay.
Um, I continue to be reasonably active in the company. I look at new ideas. What does the future look like? Because someone has to look at not just the today's operations, but also plan out the future.
Absolutely.
So the ideas I spoke about earlier, the inbox commerce, etc., those are ideas, some of this I'm working on. How do we win big in the US? That's the other area that I'm focused on. So it gives me the freedom of picking up the future growth areas for Netcore and then working on those.
And what would be your advice to a founder looking to hire a CEO for their SaaS business?
Okay, I think it's a great question. So I think it's very important to realize two things. One is when you become the bottleneck for the growth of the business. I think it's that has to be understood by the entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is that figure out what you are very good at and what you are not good at. What do you don't like doing? There are many functions, and then get replacements for those functions. And if one of them is just managing people and running the business, I think then you need to get a CEO. So that brings out the best in you, and that will be the best for the growth of the company also.
Thank you so much for sharing. So you need to let your ego down and be
Yes.
transparent with yourself and see. Yeah. I was curious to know, are you the only founder?
Yes, I'm the
Oh,
only
wow.
founder. Yes.
Awesome. And what would you say was your biggest challenge throughout these 25 years, you said?
Okay. The biggest, so there have been challenges at multiple times through
Yeah.
the years, but I would say uh, a few years ago, um, I think that is when we sort of uh, shifted Netcore from what I would call the enterprise software mindset to the SaaS mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 2019 when my CEO Kalpit and I both attended SaaStr in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized that even though we were a cloud business, all our services were from the cloud, we were not thinking with the SaaS mindset. Because in India, we were selling with people. We had salespeople, they knew all the customers. Okay, so it was in-person selling. We didn't have to worry about content marketing. We didn't need to worry about product-led growth, any of those things.
Yeah.
And once we came back, we said, look, if we have to grow to markets outside India and Southeast Asia, we will have to adopt the SaaS mindset. And that, I think, changed our mind. So while we were still growing, we realized that there is a huge opportunity for us in the US, and we can't do it with what has succeeded for us so far. So we had to pivot in terms of our thinking. So the entrepreneurial mindset is there, but the SaaS mindset had to come in what we had to do.
That's absolutely fantastic. I love it. And what do you say was your biggest mistake that you did?
I think our biggest mistake was that we should have focused on the US much earlier than we actually did. So we were growing quite well, Tristan, in India and emerging markets, 20-25% year on year. And I did not, if we should have actually gone to the US probably 3 or 4 years earlier than we did. Email product could have worked very well there at that time. Marketing automation was still early on, but we would have got a better foothold in the US.
Yeah.
When we started the US operations, we were also hurt by the fact that the pandemic came in, and so we could not travel. We could not hire a good team there, because the in-person interactions were missing. So I'd say we lost 2 or 3 years out there, US and Europe, I would say both these markets, because for email itself, the US market is 100 times larger than India.
Wow.
So, we are big here. We have a 75% market share in India. US is still, we have to build it out. And email now, what we have to look at is innovations. So on one side is the email innovation. The second is the full stack. Now we have got a good leader in the US. We are building up our US team. But I'd say we could have gone there probably a few years before we actually decided to do it.
And now I'd love to talk more about the go-to-market strategies that worked for you. I guess let's take it on stages because, as you said, there are different stages. Yeah.
So in the early stages in Netcore, when we had the email when we were okay, I'd break it up into how we did India, then emerging markets, and what we are doing in the developed markets. I think that's a good sequencing.
Yeah.
So India, all our go-to-market, even today, to a large extent, is in person because we've been around for a long time. We have multiple products. Most of our customers know us. So it's a question of now more cross-sell. Of course, the new age companies are the ones who are startups and who are growing fast. There we have to go and pitch to them afresh. But otherwise, it's more of how can we get more and more of the wallet share that is there in these in customers. In emerging markets like Southeast Asia, first we tried to work with partners in different countries, and then we realized these products are a little complex for partners to have an easy sell, because you have to compare, you have to show the value of how we can make a difference on the website, on the app, in email, etc. And then what we did was we augmented it by sending some of our best salespeople from here into the region. And then they hired local people.
Wow.
And that has worked very well for us. So now a lot of these regions, we follow the same strategy. And even it's good for some of our own Netcore people, when they salespeople, when they do well, or sales and even CSM, customer success, they do well here, they see an opportunity which is there in some of the other regions for them also to get different experiences.
Exactly.
US and Europe, we are working to build our own teams. We have a couple of people from India there, but also we are hiring locally. I think we have good leaders in both the countries now. And there we are using events and, of course, on content marketing and innovation. So we have to do all three. Events are a good way to establish brand. So we were at multiple e-commerce events earlier this year and even for the later part of this year.
Yeah.
Then we have to look at, of course, content marketing, because that's the way discovery has changed completely. So we got to talk about, we talk about a lot of the success stories that we have from India, of many of the global players who are opening in India. So the brand names are recognizable. Some of the categories are recognizable by companies. And innovation, like I said, AMP and email, the full stack story, Unboxed. Unboxed, of course, has always been in the US. So Unboxed has got 150 plus customers there. So that's another good cross sell that we can do out there. So slightly different in US and Europe, but as they say, horses for courses.
You explained it perfectly. Thank you so much for sharing. What are the top KPIs that you track?
Okay. For Netcore, it is basically the number one, our North Star metric is what we call, what is there is Exit MRR.
Okay. What is
so
that?
It's the recurring revenue, recurring monthly revenue that we are able to generate from our customers. So basically, monthly recurring revenue is MRR.
Yes.
And exit is, so we sort of exclude the one-offs which are there. Sometimes in festive seasons, you see a peak. So what of it is repeatable?
Okay.
So that's the number that we track at all the sales levels and across the team. And at my level, for me, the most important number is the cash generation every month or every year, because unless the cash comes in, unless customers really pay you, it's not an order closed or the completion, because cash flow is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of companies can sink and fail.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear your vision for the future, your full vision.
I think it's see, the way I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this in the last couple of years. And the key problem I started thinking about was that why are brands spending 90% of their budgets on new customer acquisition and only 10% on customer retention, engagement, and growth? And it seemed to me that it's very logical that brands should actually spend a lot more on their existing customers. You've done the hard job of acquisition. And that's where I realized that half of the money being spent on acquisition is actually being wasted. So it's being wasted because of two reasons: reacquisition and wrong acquisition. And I've now talked with a lot of marketers. Not many of them want to admit it because it means their budgets will shrink. But for a brand, that money hurts the profitability of the business. And at a global level, of the $400 billion being spent on ad tech, the acquisition, digital acquisition, that's a $200 billion ad waste problem that is there. Yeah. So my focus, my vision for the future is, how can we move a large chunk of that to brand P&Ls? Because this will boost brand profitability. If the money is not wasted, it boosts brand profitability. They can invest better in creating better experiences for their existing customers, with better loyalty programs, with more technology investments for ensuring better personalization using AI, etc. All of these investments can be made. The focus can shift to existing customers. They will have less churn, which means you don't have to reacquire the customer expensively from ad tech. How can you drive better referral programs? So I call this Profit Excel, that brands can actually supersize their profits, extra large profits, by focusing on their existing customers. So my vision is a world where brand profits actually go up dramatically because they are doing two things right. They are getting more revenues from existing customers and they are cutting the waste that is there in their marketing budgets. And I believe if their brands have more money, they will invest it into more better products, more innovation, and all of that today, which they are not able to do. And of course, they will be less dependent on external capital for funding expensive new acquisition. So that's my vision for the future. Yeah. Happier brands, more profits for brands, and that's what Netcore is going to be working on.
That's fantastic. Wow.
By the way, I have a lot of these ideas that I write on my blog. I write every day. It's eponymous with my name, rajeshjain.com.
Yeah.
And rajeshjain.com/marketing. There are 50 plus essays where I write about the future of marketing, marketing 2.0, email 2.0, loyalty 2.0. There's an idea which I've talked about called velvet rope marketing, where how do you get great relationships with your best customers because they account for a disproportionate share of your revenue and profitability.
Yeah, I will put it in the description. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
And now I'd love to hear the plans for the company. Are you planning to sell it? Are you planning to, what can you tell us?
Sure. So Netcore's plans going forward, I would love the company to basically IPO.
Yeah.
We had been thinking about doing it last year, but market conditions in India and of course across the world were not conducive for that. So when markets improve, also I think I would like to now see good US traction because I think rather than just positioning us as a India emerging markets company, I think we'll get better value if we can show success as a global player out of India. So an Indian multinational in the SaaS space, in the B2B SaaS space, I think would be good. So that's sort of inward looking. On the outward looking side, I think Netcore would like to play a very important role in eliminating this 50% ad waste that's there in the world and helping transform brand P&Ls, what I spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
Because I think we are all customers of consumers of brands, customers of lots of B2C brands. And if brands can improve their engagement with us, the interactions that they do with us, we feel happier. We will ignore less of their messages. We will spend more with the brands we like. And it's a win-win for both brands and customers. And that's what Netcore hopes to be the sort of enabler in making this a beautiful relationship. So basically, beautify every broken customer experience. Okay, I think if we can do that, I think we have won.
I think you're in a great position. But are you planning to list on the US exchange or in India?
Most likely in India, because the scale that we need for the US exchanges is far bigger than what we will need. And given that India is also our home market, we are better known out here. I think that will also help. But for the near future, I would like it to be listed in India. Also, Netcore is 25% owned by employees. So it will be a very good value creation opportunity for lots of Netcoreans.
That's awesome. I love the mindset. And I wanted to ask you, can you share with us your backstory? So how you started your career, just from the beginning?
Sure. So I've grown up in Mumbai. I did my undergrad at IIT Bombay. Then I went to the US to do my master's at Columbia University. Both were in electrical engineering. Then I spent a couple of years in the US. This was 89 to 91, working at 9X, which was a big telecom company out there. Then I returned to India in 92 because my father had told me when I left, finish your master's in 9 months, work 2 years, and then come back to India. So that decision for me was made. And so I've been an entrepreneur since I came back. I've had 2 successes, India World and Netcore. I've had 30 plus failures, so 1 a year.
Wow.
I keep trying out lots of things. Many ideas don't work. And in between, I also spent 7 years on the periphery of Indian politics. So I worked on the Prime Minister's first campaign, 2011 to 14. I built a team for media, data, analytics, and volunteering to 2011 to 14, like I said. Because I wanted a better future for the country. I wanted to see a regime change in that sense. And I think, but I was never interested in the political part of it. I want to see Indians as free and prosperous. So we are still a relatively poorer country compared to the Western countries and so on. But Indians are very smart people. You take them globally, they are doing very well. They are CEOs
Yeah.
of many large corporations. So how can we create the right rules and conditions in India for prosperity? That was sort of my theme. Then I tried to create a movement for prosperity in India. That didn't work out. One of my other failures.
Were you disappointed when you tried doing that in
Yeah, I
politics?
mean, I realized I was too naive thinking that just writing some articles and doing some videos will change people's minds.
Yeah, and you
Not
decided
easy.
to stay on what you do best, I
So
guess.
then I went back to what is
Yeah.
my sort of, as Jim Collins puts it, my hedgehog, which is
Yeah.
being a tech entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I came back to Netcore sort of full time. And I started, I wrote a blog every day from 2000 to 2012. And
Wow.
I restarted blogging in 2020. When I was doing my political work, I did not want to write because it would not be good of me to
Mm.
write what I'm doing. And so I write every day. And there's a book coming out in next month,
Okay.
Startup to Proficorn. Yes.
Wow.
So a lot of my blog posts plus a lot more content. It's essentially a guidebook for entrepreneurs and I think even intrapreneurs. So people who are running businesses internally, even for students. There's a lot of nice stories about my life, from stories from other entrepreneurs, and many questions that I have had from entrepreneurs over the years, like work-life balance,
Yes.
and so on. What the question you asked, what is the right time to hire a CEO, and so on. So there's lots of good advice for entrepreneurs in that book. Most important is have confidence in your ability to bootstrap a business, make it profitable. It's the best way to build a business.
Thank you so much for sharing. And will it be available worldwide?
Yes. So
Awesome.
it goes on sale around June 20th, worldwide. So hopefully Amazon will have a digital copy, and I think the print copies will be available, I think, print on demand in many countries. So
I'd
they'll
like
see
to.
demand before they start stocking it up. So yeah, if a lot of people buy, then I'm sure it will be available much more easier. But definitely digital
Yeah,
copies should be available worldwide.
I'll definitely get one. It sounds very interesting. And yeah, if I can ask, how old are you?
I am 56.
And what
So
would be
being an
your
entrepreneur. Pardon?
what would be your best piece of advice for a starting founder? You have
Okay, I'll tell you what I've
30
done.
years of experience, so
Yes. So
yeah,
the one thing which I've done
yeah,
is when you're running your business, run the business as if you're going to run it forever. Because then the decisions that you will make are for the long term. Don't think about exit. Every morning you wake up, you've got to be excited and passionate about what you're doing. Okay, and you will not be if you're going to think, okay, in 3 years, I want to get to an X valuation, sell it for Y money or whatever, Y millions of dollars. Okay, because then you're going to make decisions which are very different from there. At the same time, talk to every VC, because the best inputs you get about what's wrong with your business come from the VCs. They're the smartest people. I must have had 50 plus VC PE conversations in my life.
wow,
And I always ask them one question. If they say they're not going to invest in me, because I'm profitable, I can tell my valuation expectation upfront.
yeah,
And I say I'm worth this much, and I will not accept anything less than that. And
okay.
that's how I sort of engage.
And you said you asked them what's wrong with.
One question which I
Yeah,
asked
okay.
is, if they say they're not going to invest in me, I ask them, what did you find wrong in what I'm doing?
Yeah,
Or what advice would you have for me? Or what's wrong? Why are you not investing? While valuation is one, sometimes they will actually point out, okay, maybe that you don't have a traction in the US market, or your product may be not as good as a competitor, which is
yeah,
out there, because they will do their due diligence. And they're the smartest people on the other side. And then work to fix those things. Because as an entrepreneur, you're meeting customers, but you're not getting that outside in view
exactly.
many times. And conversations with potential investors, I think, can give you that feedback and just solve those problems, and you'll have a better business with every conversation that you do.
That's incredible. So talk to your customers and talk to potential investors, and you'll see the what you need to improve. Wow,
Absolutely.
fantastic. And I wanted to ask you, I have two more questions left. I wanted to ask you, I see you're super excited and super happy and super motivated. What is the key to that? What is the the main factor behind that?
I'm a very optimistic person.
Okay.
And as an entrepreneur, you have to be. I mean, the reality is that 99.99% ventures fail. Okay? But every entrepreneur goes in there believing they have a 70-80% chance of success. And for me, it's never been about the money. I did very well when I sold my first business at age 32. So that was almost 24 years ago. And my wife then, Bhavna, and we've been working together for almost all the 30 years since marriage, 29 years. She told me something which is been so important. She said, if you think about the money in the bank, you will never do anything useful in life. He said, you like building new things. I'm the 0 to 1 guy. Okay, I get bored running I have to worry about, okay, what are your sales numbers? How are you going to go about doing the marketing? I love creating new products. Like I said, most of the time they don't work. But the joy of solving problems. There's a book which captures this feeling so well. It's by Uri Levine, new book. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. So there are so many problems to solve. And I believe entrepreneurs can apply this problem-solving mindset in any discipline. So like in politics, I tried to do that.
Yeah.
It worked once, it didn't work the second time. But that's part of the terrain. I mean, you go in there. So I don't fear failure. Even though failing is hard, every time I get hurt when I fail. Every time I know I've spent a little bit longer than I should have in realizing, even though others were telling me. But
Yeah.
It's like my baby. I cannot accept that I've done wrong, But I think there's so many interesting ideas, problems to look at, meeting with customers, every conversation. Actually, I walk out with 3 or 4 ideas. Okay, if you listen to them, look at the language they're using, so many things to do. And then you go back and think, okay, how can I solve those problems?
But do you think that younger people like me, let's say from the Gen Z, are more materialistic and going after the money rather than having a problem-solving mindset?
Some of the people I meet tend to look not more at the journey, but try to focus sometimes on the destination. So it's very individual specific, not just young or old. Many people tend to look at, okay, entrepreneurship is not just about the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, as it were.
Of course.
I mean, it's about going in there every day. It's about the struggles that are there, because you're gonna you know the life of an entrepreneur. I mean, you'll end of the day you will see, oh, I had 20 things to do today. I've done maybe 3 of them. 17 more things left to do, and my day is coming to an end. And you ought to love that feeling every day. So, because the buck stops with you, there is no higher authority. You can pass the monkey, the problem too. You've got to solve it for everyone. And I think, but the freedom that comes with being an entrepreneur, you're controlling your own destiny. You've got to like that journey. It's never easy when you're not succeeding. And I've gone through it in the early years plus now. But I keep telling people, I said, once in your life, give up the safety of a regular job for 2 years, 3 years, whatever time you want, become an entrepreneur. And I think it'll be a very, very different experience, and one which you will cherish. We all love to do, things at least once in our life. Every manager or every employee should think of becoming an entrepreneur. Of course, you got to do the homework, with the right idea, right team, all of that stuff. But think about running your own business once.
So you think anybody can be an entrepreneur?
As long as they have the entrepreneurial mindset.
And can that be developed, or do you?
Absolutely.
Are you born with it? Yeah.
It can be developed. Absolutely, because many times we are applying that mindset in some ways in the companies where we are working. Okay, because there also we are solving problems, we are listening to customers, all of that is happening. Many times there are fears which hold us back. And one of the biggest fears is the fear of failure. Oh, what will happen to me if I fail? What will other people think of me?
Exactly.
So it's not the failure as much as the mental fear that we put in our own heads.
Because in reality, nobody cares or will judge you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and of course, I keep saying, I said the entrepreneur is not going out there to succeed. The entrepreneur is going out there every day to reduce the chances of failure. Every day
That's
you
fantastic.
are in business, your odds of success increase. And that's what you have to make happen. But do it for the right reasons. Not the fact that, oh, I saw that person, my classmate, did this company and he got a big exit, he or she got a big exit, and I'm smarter than that person and I can repeat it. No, that's not the right. Go there to solve a problem, love the journey, okay, and I think it's don't over focus on the destination.
You're an inspiration. I love it. I have one last question. What's your favorite SaaS product apart from Netcore?
Um, okay, the two products I really love and I enjoy. I mean, yeah, they're sort of SaaS, of course, is definitely Dropbox, because I use two desktops, one at home and one at the office, and I have a laptop. I don't like the small screen. I like the big screens. Um, so Dropbox has been fantastic. That's the ease. You drop it into the folder and it just works across now, of course, the mobile devices also and multiple devices. I mean, the simplicity of it, no, you don't have to use your brain on any of these things. And that's one. And of course, Zoom. Um, Again, compared to all the other web conferencing ones, just the ease of it working, the clarity of the audio, video all the time is very good. And the one I'm now starting to fall in love with, like tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people worldwide, is ChatGPT. Um, I keep telling people, I said, what Google search bar was once upon a time, how often you use it daily. You got to think of using ChatGPT like that and don't replicate the search interface. It's not about one-off search, it's a conversation. It helps you think. And because I tend to write a lot, I have to think up new topics, new ideas to write on. I just use it as a co-pilot many times to help
Yeah.
me refine my thoughts. Um, 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 I know there are lots of things being talked about with AI, etc., but I think this is a genuinely huge productivity uplift. Like Zoom was, I had not used Zoom till the first day of the lockdown in India. And then in a week, I could not do without it. I mean, we would not have been productive on teleconferencing, on
Wow.
audio conferencing calls. So I think these are three great products which I love.
This podcast was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Definitely one of my favorites. Is there anything else that you want to mention today?
Um, I think one more advice for entrepreneurs,
Sure.
because I've seen this happen time and again, is more important. Again, this I got it from the head of the investment banker when I sold the business. Hemendra Kothari in India. He headed DSP Merrill Lynch. And when I got the offer for $115 million from Satyam Infoway, SIFI, I was hesitating. My thing was that I've built this business out. I don't want to give it up. It's like a baby. How can I just give it up? And he said to me at that time, Rajesh, more than knowing when to enter a business, it's more important to know when to exit a business. And he meant it from the fact that you are a guy who likes to come up with new ideas. You'll have the freedom, you'll have the time, money to be able to do that. But it was a prescience of a different kind. If I'd waited for 6 more months, the dot-com collapse happened in early 2000, and I don't know what life would have been after that. I don't know whether I would have survived at that time or
Yeah.
not. So I think many entrepreneurs, they think that where there's an offer to see you built a business, absolutely, but don't get so emotionally attached to it that you make it you make the wrong decision. Okay, waiting maybe for on out of sentimental reasons, or you want that extra dollars on the table, and so on. So that's a call that has to be made, because many entrepreneurs at that time, I know, okay, chose to wait, and 6 months later, it was very difficult for them to raise capital. And we are seeing those are times we are living in also now. It's difficult times, difficult to raise capital. Sometimes if there's a good offer which comes along for an acquisition, I think founders should consider it. You become part of a larger company, you learn. Okay, life is not about a single company. There are lots of problems in the world to solve. But many times some of these emotional decisions because we get attached. All of us as entrepreneurs love our business. We can't think of us being without it and the business being without us. So both that and of course the CEO decision earlier.
Yeah.
I think were probably two very important decisions in my life which changed outcomes for me.
Thank you so much for joining. You did fantastic. I'm super grateful, and yeah, I wish you all the best. And thank you so much.
Wonderful questions. Question. I think any podcast, any conversation is made by the questions that you ask, and you were fantastic. Also, thank you very much.